So, Wintersun have finally gotten around to releasing their highly anticipated album. It's about fucking time to get on with this review. That's all I've written down. That's all I've got for you today. I'm tired, everybody. It's been one of those days, if I'm quite... Okay, everybody. So, joking aside, I know that there's been quite a lot of controversy on the build-up to this album. I don't really have too much of an interest in that, to be honest with you. I'm here to review the important stuff, which is the music for you guys. Having said that, I will be talking about a lot of the shit that's gone on, so got to bulk out the review somehow. So let's get into the first name of many that I'm sure I will completely mispronounce. Jari Mainpää is the mastermind behind Wintersun, which he started after his departure from Finnish folk metalers Ensiferum. And Wintersun's music features elements of power metal, folk metal, neoclassical metal, melodic death metal, black metal, as well as a sprinkling of prog metal. More than a sprinkling, to be fair. Now, this is the band's 4th album in total, and the follow-up to the much anticipated Time 1, which was released back in 2012. That album itself was actually started in 2004. And so what's that, 8 years? That was pretty good for me. That was nice. I like that. I'm quite good. And as joking as we're being here, Time 1 was a very, very enjoyable album indeed. So if you haven't checked that one out, definitely do. Definitely do. Writing and recording for Time 2 actually began in 2013. But in 2017, they released The Seasonal Forest. I think it was The Seasonal Forest. The Forest Seasons. Damn it! At least I checked, I suppose. And in that same year, they started crowdfunding on Indiegogo for Time 2. At least I think it was for Time 2, or was it for this album? And then they used the proceeds from this album to go to Time... I don't know. It's also convoluted, or is that just my brain? And much controversy ensued. Many delays and lots of people crying foul of how much money they were asking for. I think it was 50 grand. Or something like that. Was it no, it might have been 500 grand. A lot. Anyway, they wanted to do a homemade studio and all the rest. Anyway, I don't know enough to comment, even though I am commenting and putting it on a video and then uploading it for potentially a couple of people to see. But Jari explains, I'm going to get it wrong so many times. In 2014, I realised I had to do something else before getting Time 2 done, with better computers, a better studio and better resources. So then we kind of took a side road and did the Forest Seasons album. We ran a crowdfunder for that album to get better resources, to get the time to get things done. The campaign was a very big success. We got enough resources, not like a full studio, but like, I call it jokingly, a semi-studio. You're just too funny. But it was enough to ensure that I could finally finish Time 2. Like I said, I just want to focus solely on the music, but I felt that it was important to give some kind of context to the background of this album, because many people are thinking it's important, and if I didn't say anything, I'd just get a load of shit for that. So you can't win, can you? It's a beautiful day though, isn't it? One thing that did remain consistent, though, according to their band page on the Nuclear Blast website, with mastermind Jari Mainpää returning on guitars, vocals, is he on keyboards? Keyboards and more, it says here. He's also joined by guitarist Teemu Mansiara, bassist Jukka Koskinen of Nightwish and Crownshift, and drummer Kai Hatau of Nightwish. I apologise profusely for that. I'm sure you're lovely people with wonderful names. It's all right, we're getting to the songs. So yes, this album finally gets released on August 30th, 2024 with Nuclear Records, as well as the crowdfunding, etc. I'm panicking. Now, as far as I understand, this isn't a concept album per se, because all of the songs are individual stories, but they are linked by an overall subject, I believe. So you could see it as a concept album. I'm nearly there, nearly at the songs. Just stick with me, stick with me. One of the things I really did appreciate about Time 1, other than the fantastic songwriting, of course, it was a respectable length at 40 minutes. And often for incredibly prog-driven, virtuistic music, there's often a tendency to really drivel on, much like reviewers on YouTube. And instead we got 5 perfectly crafted songs, and we do get something of a return of that on this. Now, we do have 6 songs covering just shy of 50 minutes, but I'd say the overindulgence in many ways was kept to it. However, then again, some of them are 13 minutes long. We'll get to it. And just before I finally get into the songs, I just wanted to mention the artwork by Cameron Gray, which now I've mentioned, I'm going to get into the songs. No one's more relieved than me, I can tell you. I frighten myself sometimes. I just go off and I just don't know when I'm going to stop. It's quite frightening. I did it again. So starting off the album, coming in at a mere 4 minutes 5 seconds, we have Fields of Snow. This instrumental intro is full of luscious keyboards and strings with an eastern flourish to the scale and chord progressions. The orchestration and production are full on and in your face, and it reminds me of Devin Townsend at his most grandiose. And spoiler warning, Devin Townsend is something that I keep coming back to throughout this album. I'm a huge Devin Townsend fan, and there's a lot of similarities in this stuff. We even get a choir coming in at the back end of this song to take the already epic feeling up even higher a notch. I also noticed that this kind of followed a similar theme to Songs of Winter and Stars from Time 1, with this sort of luscious introduction going into the, well then again I suppose that's similar to a lot of metal albums, isn't it? Quite a lot of metal albums start with that sort of classical stuff and then go slamming into some beefier tunes. Speaking of which, takes us into the second track, The Way of the Fire, clocking in at just over 10 minutes for the first real epic on the album. Starts out with a folky guitar passage before exploding into blast beats and tremolo picking, which is exactly the sort of thing you'd expect from something with a title like this. The vocals range from feral black metal screams to multi-stacked operatic splendour reminiscent of someone like Queen or Devin Townsend. It has to be said that some of the lead guitar lines on this would put Herman and Sam of Dragon Force fame to absolute shame. The musicianship on this album is pretty goddamn top tier. Once again, I find it just impossible not to draw comparisons to Devin Townsend, but there were moments on this with the orchestration and the just in-your-face production that reminded me very much of some of his stuff from Deconstruction or Empath as most crazy. And referring to their band page once again on the Nuclear Blast website, it turns out that apparently the fire mentioned in the title represents the energy of stars as a source of life, which is also connected to time. Astonishingly accomplished musicianship on this one. Next up, coming in at 6 minutes and 18 seconds, we have One with the Shadows. A doomy yet ethereal riff introduces this one. Ethereal, I like it. Furious double bass drumming and arpeggiated guitar lines are joined by feral screams before we once again go into an operatic section. I have to say that the use of strings and keyboards going on in the background of this song are done incredibly well, as there's so much going on. You could hear so much of it, yet it's done in a subtle way as well. It's very well done. Sorry, I'm trying not to belch. That's not a reflection of the album, by the way. And Yari had this to say about the lyrics for the song. Now I think that it's about regret. You are living in the shadows as long as you don't turn regret into something positive to continue your life. I think we can all relate to that. You know what I mean? If you just lie down and let life beat you up, then you're screwed. You've got to kind of get up and make something positive out of what you got. It's easier to say that though, isn't it, on a beautiful day like this? My God, these hills are beautiful. I've had a lot of people asking, why do you do these reviews outside? Beautiful. Next up we have the 2 minute 21 second Ominous Clouds, and this is just an interlude piece, and it's very reminiscent of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, albeit much more complex guitar lines going on, but it definitely had that vibe. And that's before going into the first of two epics on the album. First up, coming in at 12 minutes and 15 seconds, we have Storm. An introduction filled with clean guitars and the sounds of falling rain that lulls us into a sense of security before the real storm hits. That was a nice bit of writing, that, Ben. Thank you. Next bit had some real thrashy bits and some fucking kick-ass solos. It's shit up. Yeah, that last bit probably needs a bit of work. And this one continues with a load of clean and heavy sections, the exact sort of thing that you would expect from an epic song of this length, but it's done wonderfully and the band execute it perfectly. Wonderful song. Can't believe I nearly left that bit off. Wasn't that hard. And that brings us to the final track on the album, the 13.5 minute Silver Leaves. Yes, the final track on the album begins with Eastern tinged chord progressions along with folk inspired percussion. Apparently the band incorporated traditional Chinese instruments, and let me get this, like the erhu, which is similar to a violin or fiddle. I don't know why I said apparently, I've got no reason to doubt them. Apparently they use traditional Chinese instruments. At around 2 minutes 40, things get heavier with these huge power chords ringing out just before the vocals kick in. One thing I'll say about this album, and on previous albums, the titles used and the images that the song itself conjures up are pretty much spot on. You can the idea of silver, I could imagine the silver leaves as I was listening to this song, which is, I don't know, I mean, someone who gets me thinking of silver leaves, I mean, that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure none of you could get me thinking of silver leaves. One more final reference to the Nuclear Blast band page of Wintersun, and it said thus. Apparently the last track is about finding a calm place and state of mind after the storm, being satisfied with your life and enjoying nature around you, as reflected by the cherry tree garden on the cover. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Enjoying nature around you, I've certainly got that going on. Ah, so beautiful. I really am in a good mood. I'm on holiday now as well. So there you have it, that's the album, rocking in at just under 50 minutes. I enjoyed this one a lot, but I'm actually going to give it a bit of a conservative score for the time being. And I'm thinking an 8 out of 10. Now that might be high for some, and it might be too low for others. I'm hoping that it will kind of stir shit up with all of you, to be honest. I've seen quite a few reviews of this, and I think people are trying to be scathing of this album needlessly because of the amount of time it took to come out. Oh, terrible, Ben, terrible. But there's no denying this is a fantastic album. The one thing that I did find as I was listening to it a lot, though, as I spoke about throughout this review, I suppose, is as a huge Devin Townsend fan, I'm probably backlit there, aren't I? As a huge Devin Townsend fan, I found myself reminded of so much of his music, the vocals as well, the really full-on, you know, operatic style, multi-stack vocals that Devin is so noted for. There was a lot of that in here, and I did find myself thinking about Devin's music a lot. And there were a couple of times I kind of like, oh, I wouldn't mind actually putting on Deconstruction now and listening to that instead. But this is without a doubt a fantastic album. It's one that's definitely worth anyone's time to check out. Sorry, I got completely flummoxed by my own joke there. I'm back. I really am. But no, 8 out of 10, that's where it sits for me at the moment. I have no doubt that with more time, this one could potentially, well, then again, we'll see how it goes. Sometimes you listen to albums more and they go down in your estimation. But anyway, regardless of that, I have no doubt that this will definitely be appearing on a lot of people's top albums of the year lists. So, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I definitely recommend that you give it a listen. Production's pretty spot on. There are moments, the drums are a little clicky at times. You can tell it's kind of a bit more self-produced. I think it was self-produced. Maybe I should have found that out. It sounds pretty damn clear for the most part. And considering how much is going on, they've done a fantastic job, I think. And yeah, I enjoyed listening to it, and I'll listen to it again. What more can I tell you? So, my time with you draws near. Is it near or afar? Oh, I'm boring myself now. I'm going to go for a run and get back and edit. I don't need to tell any of this. As far as my next videos are concerned, Nails have just released their new album. I'm hoping to get a review of that done. I don't think I'm going to get to review everything that's coming out this week because there's so many. I know we've got Ancients, we've got Throne. What else do we have? Oh God, who's Leprous? And yeah, I'm just not going to have the time to do it. Like I said, I'm on holiday now, so. Anyway, I'm just going on now. Make sure that you join me for the next video. Like this one if you liked it, and if you don't, then, you know, just fuck off. I'll see you next time. Yeah, bad boy.